One of the most popular trends in gaming is to remake something old. To remake something that was beloved before. It makes sense, especially when you're looking at it from a business perspective. Cash in on nostalgia and make something old feel more modern. One of the earliest examples of a remake was Resident Evil on the GameCube. Let me be completely transparent in saying I haven't played this game yet myself, nor have I played the original Resident Evil. But essentially, what Capcom did with Resident Evil Remake was built a completely new game in the world of the original game. And this was something they carried into 2, 3, and 4 Remake. Outside of Resident Evil 3 Remake, which was a little bit divisive, mainly because of cut content, Resident Evil is the gold standard when it comes to remaking a game. There's always a fine line you gotta walk between a remake. You have to make it feel fresh and new, but also faithful to the original. After all, if it doesn't feel fresh and new, then it can't distinguish itself from the original. And if it's not faithful to the original, then it spits in the face of old fans. The idea of a remake is to appease new and old fans, and that's something that's very hard to do. So when Konami announced remakes of 2 of their biggest games, I was definitely cautiously optimistic. Silent Hill 2 was one of those games that I thought was impossible to remake, impossible to replicate without Team Silent. Especially when it was announced that Bloober Team would be remaking the game, I was definitely weary. And after playing it, it was everything I wanted in a Silent Hill 2 remake. They really took their time in making and crafting the perfect remake. And even if it took a long time to come out, I'm very happy with the final product that we got. It felt like it was increasingly important that Konami got this right, especially after all the ill will with the falling out with Kojima. It seemed that Konami was having a comeback. And so that brings us to Metal Gear Solid Delta, a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, often to be considered one of the best games of all time. And it was also my first Metal Gear Solid game. So when Delta was announced, I was interested but also worried. Without Kojima, I didn't know if Konami could pull it off. And after playing it for a couple hours, I'm happy to report that they did pull it off, but I'm also a little disappointed. So, what do you get with Metal Gear Solid Delta? You get the complete original game and all side content, including Snake vs. Monkey if you're playing on PS5, and an all-new Bomberman mode if you're playing on Xbox, I believe. But the thing about Delta is it's a very safe and faithful remake. Essentially, it's a 1-to-1 remake just with updated controls. So you have updated graphics and a new control scheme and sleek UI, but that's really about it. There's no new level design, there's no new content outside of maybe the Bomberman mode if you're playing on Xbox, and there's really not much new here. You're just getting an updated way to play Metal Gear Solid 3. The story is completely unchanged. There's no added or removed dialogue. This is just Metal Gear Solid 3, but more HDified. I really like the new UI updates. It just makes the game more accessible and more fun. But with nothing new here, I kind of feel like this remake is a little bare bones, especially when you consider that it's $70. I personally think it should be $40, considering what comes in the package. Especially when you consider that Metal Gear Solid 3 already has a re-release on modern day platforms. You might not be getting the quality of life upgrades, but in Master Collection, you get Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, and some games from the MSX. You also get VR missions, Considering you can get Master Collection for like 20 bucks now, it's a much better value. Something weird too is that this is now the third remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, technically. You already had the updated camera version on the PS2. You also have the 3DS version, and the HD collection if you want to count that. Although that's more of a remaster. I just don't know if the priority should have gone towards Metal Gear Solid 3 again as much as either a new Metal Gear Solid game, which I don't even know if Konami could pull that off, given that people hate Metal Gear Survive, or even a remake of the first Metal Gear Solid. Considering that's a PS1 game, that one should have got a remake. Technically there's Twin Snakes, but I mean more of a modern day remake on modern platforms with modern controls. The original Metal Gear Solid 3 doesn't even have a bad control scheme as much as it does a learning curve. It's weird for sure, but after you get used to it, it all feels natural. It's very much like having to get used to the original Resident Evil 4's control scheme. I think the decision to remake Metal Gear Solid 3 makes sense from a commercial aspect. It's their golden goose, similar to Silent Hill 2, the critical darling, the fan favorite. But honestly, I'm kind of in two thoughts. I would have really liked to see new content, but I also wouldn't have. And I know that sounds weird, but I almost feel like they could have ruined it with new content, or altering the game, redubbing things. At the same time, I would have liked to see an alternate version. A new take on one of my fan favorite games. If they messed it up, I could just go back to the original. After all, Twin Snakes is a unique take on the original Metal Gear Solid, and it's a cool and unique second playthrough. It doesn't replace the original, but sits alongside it. I know most fans prefer the original, but I do like that Twin Snakes is its own unique game, its own unique experience. And I guess that's what I would have liked to see with Delta. Or at least, if they couldn't do that, adding a new story or something. And we haven't even talked about the performance of this game. The HD collection of Metal Gear Solid 3 was buttery smooth at 60 frames per second, and it was often considered the best way to play it. Even if the PS2 visuals look a little bit dated, there's still a certain charm to them. Something about the limitations of the PS2 that made that game shine, even in the transition to HD. With Delta, you are getting more realistic visuals, and it's at the cost of the frame rate. The game aims for 60 frames per second, but rarely does it hit that. In action-heavy areas, this game drops to 30 frames a second, even in performance mode. And embarrassingly, on the PS5 Pro, it runs even worse. It's probably a byproduct of Unreal Engine 5, because most games that run in Unreal 5 run poorly. But even so, it's disappointing, considering that this is supposed to be the best way to play the game. And this is regardless of platform. It's even badly optimized on PC, even with a good rig. Which is even more puzzling because you still have all the same loading screens that were in the original game. Like I said, this is a one-to-one remake. Same level design and all. I will also say I don't think the visual upgrade was worth it. I still prefer the original look of the original game. Again, there was just something about the limitations of the PS2 that made that game shine. And some of that is lost in the remake, in the transition to realistic graphics. Things just look a little too realistic. I will say though, it is very impressive that they were able to replicate Kojima's style. All the cutscenes and everything are a one-to-one recreation of the original game. So that itself is at least somewhat commendable. But yeah, I'm a little bit mixed on Delta. I would say if you're interested and haven't yet picked it up, wait for a sale. I think around Black Friday this game's gonna drop to like $40 or $30, and that seems like a good price for it. At its current price of $70 though, it's hard to recommend. But anyway, that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Have you tried Delta? And do you really enjoy it? Have you not yet tried it and you're interested, but what I said kind of deterred you a bit? Or are you waiting for a sale? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would like to hear them. And thanks for checking out the video. If you'd liked it, go ahead and subscribe. It would really help out. Thanks, guys. Bye.